I hope all of you had a wonderful time in SBS. Since I started to teach meditation after I started SBS, that was way back more than 20 years ago, I've been trying to make Buddhism relevant to lay Buddhists. Although my background comes from the Mahasi tradition, which emphasizes on intensive retreats, and which I also first started to teach when I came back, I found that that sort of format causes a dichotomy in practice. And also, many yogis find it very difficult to adapt to their normal lives after they come out of the retreat. Eventually, after many years of evolution, I decided that although an intensive retreat may be necessary in order for a person to learn new skills, I try to orient my approach so that what I teach can be applied in daily lives. So I did away with labeling, which is part of the Mahasi tradition, and also with slow motion movement, which is also very impractical when you go back to daily life. And I also did away with closed eye meditation, which means to say I teach yogis to meditate with their eyes open, because during your wakeful hours, your eyes are open most of the time, isn't it? And if you train your mind to meditate only when your eyes are closed, you have a very good excuse not to meditate in your daily life. So I found that labeling, slow motion, and closed eye approach makes it rather difficult for people to apply in their daily lives. And there is actually no guidance at all at the end of an intensive retreat in those traditions on how to actually put what they have learned into practice. Because obviously you can't go around labeling things in your daily life, nor can you move around in slow motion, nor can you practice with your eyes closed all the time. So since 2013 or 14, I've also started to teach mindful hiking retreats. And I call it introspective mindfulness for the young at heart. Age is not a problem. Fitness is the issue. So it doesn't matter how old you are, as long as you're fit. And if you're young but you're not fit, you wouldn't be able to participate as well. And also, more recently, I've introduced mindful conversation and listening into my retreats. After I heard one of my students, Dr. Yoga King, who shared his experiences in the teaching of secular mindfulness, I think from Cambridge, and I've incorporated into my retreats. And today, when I had a meeting with your teachers, I was also very delighted to see that they have brought that even further by incorporating the different principles in the practice of mindfulness to make it more applicable in your daily life. So I think that we are walking in the same direction, although we may be taking a slightly different route. I see some of my long-time yogis also participating in this retreat, and I'm sure that later they will share with me what they have learned, and I will update my teachings again. And they all know that I've been updating my teachings. It's an evolutionary process. Well, whatever approach that we use, whether we start off with serenity practice or samatha, and then we move on to vipassana. I think one of the most important things that many teachers, not necessarily Western mindfulness teachers, but mostly from the East, Asian, mostly from Burma and perhaps Thailand, they tend to forget that the object of vipassana is sankharas, which are things that are constructed or come into being because of causes and conditions. So particularly in the Burmese tradition, most of their meditation techniques are based on the views of the Abhidhammikas. So they insist that the object of vipassana must be the so-called ultimate realities. Which means to say, you don't watch the contents of the thought, watch the contents of the emotion. You see thoughts as just a process. You don't see the content, but you just see the process. And so with your emotions. You don't see the content of the emotion, but you just see the emotion itself, the feeling, the process of it arising and passing away. So from the Abhidhammika's point of view, you should only watch the five aggregates in their pristine, ultimate sense. Which means to say, feelings are just feelings, perceptions are just perceptions, volitions are just volitions, consciousness is just consciousness. So if you're watching a thought, you're watching what's going on in your mind, your feelings, your emotions, these are all considered to be not ultimate realities. But I see that in this retreat, your insight dialogue retreat, you are going into a more conceptual realm of expressing what you feel verbally. But this, although it is not in line with what the Abhidhammikas say, is also something which I encourage my yogis to do. Because in the suttas, sankharas is never defined as ultimate realities. In fact, sankharas are defined as constructions, things that come about through causes and conditions. And all your ideas, your concepts, your beliefs are products of causes and conditions, aren't they? Your ideas also change, your views also change. So these are also sankharas. And they too exhibit the three signs of existence. I think about more than 15 years ago, someone asked me a question that was posed by Jack Confield, one of the founders of Insight Meditation Society. At that time, he asked the question, Western Vipassana teachers are supposed to be masters of their mind, but still they need to seek psychotherapy. Why is that so? Actually, he was a Western monk who asked me that question. The moment he asked me that question, I answered him. That's because they only know how to watch ultimate realities. They don't know how to watch the conceptual realities of their life. That's because many of those Western Vipassana teachers were trained under the Burmese tradition, either the Mahasi or the Goenka. And they are also based on the Abhidhammika's idea of ultimate realities. So the emphasis was on looking at ultimate realities. You can see the rising and passing away of ultimate realities. But then when you go back to the world, how about all their problems? They are not ultimate realities. They are conceptual realities, and you don't know how to handle them. Several months ago, when I was in SBS, I met two Western yogis who were on their personal retreat here because they requested to see me before I left. And two of them were very young men. And I was very, very inspired by the sincerity and seriousness of their practice. Not like our Asians, they are always chatting away behind your back. But they are very, very serious yogis. They just do their stuff. They go around, not talking, and do regular hours of meditating. So one day, this American who came from Eastern Europe, I think his origin was Eastern European, but he is American. He told me that he's been stuck in this state for many, many months. Mindfulness comes very easy to him. He can see everything arising and passing away at all the five senses, no problem. But how come he's not making any progress? Why is he not having any insights? So I asked him, when you see things arising and passing away, do you see the causes and conditions, why they arise and why they pass away? And he asked me, what causes and conditions? You see, if you see things arising and passing away without understanding their causes and conditions, you can arrive at two extreme wrong views. Firstly, you will think that it's random. I had no hand in it. It came and went of itself. Right? So everything is random. No such thing as, cause and effect. On the other hand, if you come from a theistic background, you would say, well, I certainly didn't think that thought. It just arose by itself. So it must be somebody up there. That's because you don't see cause and condition. When you see cause, condition, and effect, then you know it's not random. There are causes and conditions behind everything that arises, especially in your mind. And there can't be somebody up there who is pulling the strings because you can see the causes and conditions so clearly. And this, you can only see, experientially verify these causes and conditions in the subject, not in the objects. The purpose of the Buddha's teaching is essentially to reduce and eventually eradicate suffering, and to improve or increase contentment and happiness in life. Of course, ultimately it means attaining arahantship. But in your daily life, all our problems stem from the mind, mostly. Even though our planet Earth is now so advanced, things are so convenient, still, and the lifespan is now pretty long, life expectancy, but still a lot of people suffer from depression, one of the human disorders that are on the rise more than others. So, if you understand cause and condition, you will see that all your responses, all your reactions to whatever you perceive to the senses are due to your past conditioning and to present causes. If you understand that, if you can experientially verify that, then you will see that behind all that is attachment, clinging, desire. That is the main cause of your problems. In the worldly life, it's very simple. You're attached to your ideas, clinging on to expectations, hopes, beliefs. And if people don't live up to your expectations, how do you feel? If you don't get what you want, how do you feel? Right? So, using that as a tool in our daily life is actually a very potent way of reducing suffering. If you can link all your mental sufferings to attachment and desires. You link it experientially, not intellectually. Every time you suffer, ask yourself why. Invariably, you will see that it's attachment. Idea, an expectation, a belief, a hope. So when you see this link again and again and again, then one day the insight will arise. If you want to have less suffering, cut down your desires. Simple. But you will only realize that when you have had enough suffering. So in conclusion, I hope that whatever approach you start off with, whatever props and supports you have at your disposal, I hope that you can make full use of them and eventually reduce your suffering and increase your happiness and contentment. I also wish to extend my sincere, heartfelt gratitude to the teachers here for coming to share their knowledge and to also give you more props and supports so that you can make use of more tools to help you reduce suffering and increase happiness and contentment in your life.